Hello, and welcome to Gus McDoll Strategy and Tactics, and thank you to our subscribers. I'm Nick McDoll. In this series, we use the missions in the game Firefight to illustrate one or more aspects of World War II infantry tactics at the company level and below. In this campaign, we are playing through the Battle of France as the French, with 8 battles over the course of May and June 1940. Everyone knows about the historical outcome, a French operational and strategic defeat at the hands of the Germans. But I want to see if the French, using historical weapons, tactics, and doctrine, can defeat the Germans at the tactical level. In this episode, Bridgehead at Remilly, you must lead your French troops to capture a bridgehead over the river as a base for future operations. The town of Remilly has key bridges over the River Worken and must be captured at all costs. Strong enemy forces have been detected in the area. Each episode, we conduct basic mission analysis, develop and analyse possible courses of action, then decide and execute the plan in real time, followed by lessons learned. Please remember to like the video and subscribe for more great strategy and tactics content. And if you want to buy me a coffee, the links to PayPal and Patreon are in the description. In the last episode, we commenced the Bridgehead at Remilly. If you haven't seen that episode, be sure to check it out, so this episode will make a lot more sense. In that episode, we examined the terrain and considered 3 alternative courses of action. We decided to place reconnaissance on the big hill to the east, place a support by fire position on the hill overlooking Remilly, and assault the town from a forming up point in the woods to the west. Sergeant Sanchez took his Renault R35 on a reconnaissance mission to the big hill to the east, but with no sign of the Germans on the hills to the north. The main body advanced through the village to the Y junction. As they moved up to the support by fire position, a firefight broke out around the buildings west of the Y junction. The French put down a heavy weight of fire and the Germans surrendered, but at the cost of 2 dead and 1 wounded. Let's review the troops. Unit 1 is a Renault R35 with a 37mm SA-18 gun and rival machine gun. It is commanded by Sergeant Sanchez. Unit 2 is a Renault R35 with a 37mm SA-18 gun and rival machine gun. It is commanded by Lieutenant Kodek. He is in overall command of the operation. Unit 3 is a Renault R35 with a 37mm SA-18 gun and rival machine gun. It is commanded by Lieutenant Michaud. Unit 4 is an infantry section commanded by Sous-Lieutenant Berger. Unit 5 is an infantry section commanded by Sergeant Lecomte. It has suffered 2 dead in the action on the left flank, Soldats Lebas and Pichard. Unit 6 is an infantry section commanded by Sous-Lieutenant Noyen. It suffered 1 wounded, Soldat Jacquet, who is evacuated to the rear. Noyen's section is ready to cross the river and occupy the forming up point. Unit 7 is an infantry section commanded by Sous-Lieutenant Bidot. It is sitting behind the support by fire position. The section has an FM-24-29 light machine gun, Berthier Model 1916 carbines, MAZ-36 rifles, and grenades. Unit 8 is a light mortar team armed with a Brandt Model 1935 60mm mortar with 60 rounds. The team is commanded by Soldat Bob. Unit 9 is an anti-tank rifle team commanded by Caporal Petit. The team is armed with a 55 caliber Boys anti-tank rifle. Unit 10 is a Renault R35 with a 37mm SA-18 gun and rival machine gun. It is commanded by Sergeant Bazin. Unit 11 is also a Renault R35 with a 37mm SA-18 gun and rival machine gun. It is commanded by Sergeant Pierron. Sergeant Bazin moves his tank up to the support by fire position. Sergeant Pierron does the same. Sous-Lieutenant Bidot moves his troops up the hill to clear the position. The light mortar team prepares to put suppressing fire on the German troops last seen in Remilly.
Open fire!
Lieutenant Michaud's Renault crests the ridge and spots an enemy Panzer 35T. This checkmate Skoda tank has a 3.7cm cannon and 2 MG37 machine guns. The tank is sitting on the bridge and makes an ideal artillery target. I will just fire 3 spotting rounds for now.
Requesting artillery.
The mortar rounds land effectively.
Open fire!
The mortar also targets the tank. The French now occupy the ridge. Automatic fire from the Germans in Remilly.
Get down!
The French tanks respond. The Panzer fires at Bidot's section. Bidot orders his men to withdraw behind the ridge. Infantry against tanks is no contest. The good news is that the support by fire position is having the desired effect. The artillery cease fire. Sergeant Leconte moves his men forward to the river. Sous-Lieutenant Noyen crosses the river into the woods. Meanwhile, a firefight has broken out on the right flank. German infantry on the hilltop are putting machine gun fire into Sous-Lieutenant Berger's section. Lieutenant Couderc's Renault moves up to support. Soldat Descamps is lightly wounded by a ricocheted bullet in the left leg. Berger withdraws his section.
Get down!
No point in risking casualties. The light mortar opens a fire mission on the German infantry. The Germans must have remained concealed as Sanchez's Renault scouted past them. Sanchez puts machine gun fire into them from the hill opposite. The first mortar round lands. The tanks, in the support by fire position, put machine gun and cannon rounds into German positions in Remilly. Nguyen's section has crossed the river and now moves through the woods to secure the forming up point. Soldat des Camps and Soldat Regal are both lightly wounded by ricocheted bullets. The section withdraws even further under machine gun fire. Soldat Moreau is wounded. Lieutenant Couderc's Renault moves forward to put itself between the German machine gun and Sous-Lieutenant Berger's infantry as they withdraw under fire. The light mortar opens another fire mission on the German position from 283 metres.
Open fire!
Bidault's section is behind the ridgeline now, and Bidault orders them to the left flank to move across the river into the FUP. Nguyen's section is clearing the forming up point without opposition. Sergeant Leconte orders his section across the river. Bidault orders his team to move. Lieutenant Couderc now fires at the German machine gun and orders his driver forward. The mortar holds fire as the Renault moves forward. Still no Germans on the right flank, and Sergeant Sanchez orders his tank forward to the intersection. Nguyen has finished securing the forming up point, and Leconte moves into position. Both sections take position on the line of departure in the woods west of Remilly. Sanchez reports, "Contact, tank." Bidault orders his team to move, again. Sergeant Sanchez destroys a Panzer 35T by AP shell through hull upper left. Couderc continues firing at the German machine gun nest. The Panzer 35T cooks off. The Panzer was sitting in the intersection in front of the bridges. It appears to have been expecting an attack up the road in the centre. To the west, French tanks are laying down suppressing fire from the support by fire position on the ridge. The infantry are moving into the forming up point. The anti-tank rifle team moves up to a firing position overlooking the German machine gun nest, while Kudirk continues suppressing fire. Bidot's section is making slow progress to the river. Sanchez orders his driver to move the Renault back down the road. He will clear the large hill to the north and outflank the Germans on the bridges. Oh no! Pierron's R-35 is destroyed by an APCR shell through the turret lower front, fired by the Panzer 35T. Sergeant Pierron is killed and Caporal Bellieu is wounded. Bellieu falls back. Sous-Lieutenant Berger's section administers first aid. Time for an artillery fire mission on the Panzer at the bridge.
Requesting artillery.
The light mortar team opens a fire mission from 328 metres
Open fire!
on the infantry position overlooking the bridge.
Move!
Bidot continues to exert his men to get into position to cross the river and support the assault. Sanchez orders his driver to take the Renault R-35 on the ridge line to the north. The first artillery round lands near the tank. Bidot orders his section to cross the river and move into the forming up point. Kudirk destroys a 3.7cm Pak-36 with an HE shell. Like the Panzer, the Pak-36 was in an intersection expecting an attack in the centre. The last spotting round destroys a building next to the bridge, and the artillery moves to fire for effect. Sanchez's Renault moves along the ridgeline to get overwatch on Remilly and the eastern bridge. Mortar rounds land in the German position. The sound of artillery is heard in the distance. The rounds slam in and fire is adjusted.
Requesting artillery.
The light mortar section also prepares another fire mission.
Open fire!
Sanchez on the ridge opposite has not spotted any other Germans.
Requesting artillery.
As soon as the artillery fire missions end, the infantry will advance into Remilly under cover of smoke.
Move!
Sous-Lieutenant Bidot again exhorts his men to move as they occupy the forming up point in a depth position. On the big hill, the German infantry have left their fighting positions straight into Kuderk's R-35. They scatter to the rear. The last artillery HE round lands.
Requesting artillery.
The wind is blowing to the north-northwest. The artillery open a smoke mission to blind the Germans as the infantry advance on Remilly. The infantry sections now step off the line of departure. They are in 2 up, 1 back formation. With no Germans in sight, Sanchez moves off the ridge to occupy the eastern bridge. The infantry move up to the fence on the western edge of Remilly. The first smoke spotter lands online and over. Sanchez moves across the bridge. Then down the road to the objective. Just in time, a smoke round lands west of the Panzer. Nguyen's section moves to occupy the buildings opposite. Objective taken. It must now be held. Kuderk moves up to the Pak 36. The noose is closing on the Germans in Remilly. Lacan's section spots Germans and opens fire. The light mortar team put their last rounds into the German position near the bridge.
Open fire!
Sanchez destroys a second Panzer 35T by AP shell through hull upper left, and retakes the objective. The artillery fire their smoke mission. The Panzer hooks off. Gudau's section moves up behind Nguyen as Nguyen's section crosses the road. The tanks move forward. Smoke blankets the Remilly objective. Mortar and tank cannon shells blast the German position. Bideau's section takes position to surround the Germans near the bridge. Victory! Bridgehead. Lead your French troops to capture a bridgehead over the river as a base for future operations. French forces. 60 survived, 5 wounded, 3 killed, 1 vehicle lost. German forces. 18 survived, 8 wounded, 30 killed, 2 surrendered, 2 vehicles lost, and 1 anti-tank gun lost. Roughly a 10-to-1 ratio in the French favour. You took a long time to take the objective, but took very few losses despite there being only light opposition. Your commanders rate your performance as average. 2 gold stars. So, what did we learn? Despite the loss of an R-35 tank and 3 dead, I was happy with the attack. The reconnaissance went much better than expected, with Sergeant Sanchez destroying 2 German panzers and taking the objective. The support by fire position on the ridgeline drew in German attention at the critical moment. Meanwhile, the infantry slipped across the river and assaulted Remilly from the west, and the artillery and mortars suppressed and neutralised German forces with a combination of HE and smoke missions throughout. The key lesson learned is from the German defence. The Germans started with roughly the same number of troops, 2 panzers and a Panzerabwehrkanone, and were not significantly outnumbered. They had good defensive terrain with lots of high ground overlooking likely avenues of approach. Their first mistake was not using the terrain to best advantage. The benefit of high ground was demonstrated by the German machine gun nest in the windmill on the large hill. This single section, firing from the high ground into the valley, held up any advance on this flank and caused my troops to fall back. It was not until the Germans were overrun by a tank that I regained freedom of movement. Imagine if they held every hill. That was the French defensive strategy at Verdun. But the biggest mistake was that the Germans dispersed their forces, some outside the village, some on the large hill, and some in Remilly. The tanks and the gun were in decent locations with good fields of fire, but separated from each other and from the infantry. As a result, except for the troops in Remilly, none of the Germans could provide mutual support to each other. This allowed the French to isolate each of the German positions and defeat them in detail with overwhelming force. The initial contact west of the village being a prime example. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe and donate, and stay tuned for the next episode.